Welcome to the Kelly Cardenas podcast, where attitude is everything. On today's show, this is his second episode. And I don't say this lightly. When I made fast friends with this young man right away, his gift is probably one of the greatest things that touched my heart. He gives away his gift to every single person that he's around. And that gift is his heart. That gift is his light. That gift is his love. But also that gift comes a lot of times on a guitar that he just shows up with. I saw a collapsible one that he had one time, and he opened it up, and he was just ready to go. Probably one of the best musicians I've ever seen. And guys, I've got a chance to travel around and see some of the best. My wife is going to get mad at me for making this comparison, but the only person that I can compare this musician to is the great Bruno Mars. The way not only he plays music, that he connects with music, that it comes from within him, but also the entertainer that he is. And I'm so proud to be able to call him my friend and my brother. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Damien Horne.
Man, what an introduction. That's like, I need that kind of introduction every day. That's good for my self-esteem. Thank you, brother. But I'm glad to be on here again, man. This is amazing.
Well, people were clamoring. I just sent out the first episode. If you haven't listened to the first episode, those of you listening now, and you're just coming in touch with Damien Horne, actually, you haven't been on Earth for a while, because you need to check him out. You need to find him, DamienHorne.com. You could go on iTunes, listen to his music. It will change your life. This, for me, another comparison I'm going to do, and people are going to get mad at me on this until they listen to you, until they experience you, was Maxwell. Maxwell, for all of you out there who know who I am, Maxwell is my favorite artist of all time. Bruno Mars is my wife's favorite of all time. For me, you embody both of them. And it's just, I mean, I tell you, the soul, the talent level, the heart, the love that comes through your music, man, is incredible. And I invite everyone that's listening right now, that you're watching right now, I invite you to go back, and you need to listen to this man's first episode, because he drops absolute bombs. He talks about his story. We're going to talk a bit about it today, but we're going to be talking about what this man is up to now. Damien, your journey has been incredible. I'm going to sum it up quickly, just quickly, okay? Right. There's this guy who has this dream, goes to L.A., thinks that he's going to be a star, ends up on Skid Row 8 months, goes back to North Carolina, gets back in a Datsun B210 with 3 of his friends, goes to Nashville, sits on a corner, plays music. Guy walks up with a big hat. The guy with the big hat says, "Hey, is that your own music?" You say yes. He tips you $100. You guys go nuts because you get to sleep in a hotel for the first time in a while, as opposed to sleeping in that musty-ass car that you guys were sleeping in. The guy says that he loves your music, asks to sit down and start to play with you. He says, "Come and hang out with us." I believe it was a Tuesday night that they play at this certain bar. Play with us on Tuesday. You go, and you don't get on till 2 o'clock in the morning. But you realize that guy with the big hat that gave you $100, that invited you to a place that he didn't let you play till 2 a.m., happened to be John Rich of Big and Rich. Gretchen Wilson was there playing. And about 6 months later, you end up on tour with Hank Williams Jr., playing at NASCAR, playing all over the world, and now are one of the most sought-after musicians in the entire world. Am I missing anything, Damien?
Man, that soundbite was perfect. I need that. I need that reel right there of that, just to give people the blast of the whole past and how everything came about. That's it. That's how it happened. That's the story.
Well, what I love about it, Damien, is the good life that you talk about is not I get to live good all the time. There's been peaks, there's been valleys. Mm-hmm. So talk to us about what you've been up to now.
So, man, this one was birthed, the idea has been in my mind for a long time. Just, I kind of grew up always, I'm a middle child, from this big family we've discussed before. I'm a middle child. So it kind of becomes part of our character to kind of pull people together, to be the glue and like, make sure you're okay, make sure you're okay. And it's kind of become a part of who I am. And so I always have had a heart for just helping people. And my friends say, "Man, like, how do you get anything done?" I see you on the phone for like hours just talking to people about their problems and like ways you can help them and trying to figure out, problem solve and fix things with people. And it's always been a passion of mine. And during 2020, when COVID hit, everything shuts down. So, in the touring world, like everything, all these gigs I had on the books, like, oh, sorry, we cancel. So the rest of my year was pretty much bare. And I'm like, okay, God, what do I do? And then like it just was dropped on me. It's like, well, like do what you have the ability to do, the passion that I've given you to do. I've given you more than one passion. And I was like, well, like I just wanted to figure a way I could help people and do that in a bigger scale, as opposed to just my close circle and people I kind of come in contact with. And that's when like the Good Life digital life course came across my mind. Like I was seeing all this. I was actually taking a life coaching course at the time, and I was like, huh, I'd love to do something like this. And I was like, I'm not a tech guy. I don't know how to build platforms and do all this kind of stuff. And I was like, I got a lot of times on my hands to kind of figure this thing out. And that's where it was birthed at. So I just literally the beginning of last year of 2021, I just sat down and started writing out the curriculum and just working through it. I had one of my ministry partners, her name is Christina O'Connor. She's actually an alternative school teacher. And so she deals with like, a lot of online teaching now. And so she was helping me with the platform and how to navigate these things. And I just created it, man. And I was like, man, I want to find a way where I can help people on an even broader scale, and that's where it came from. And so like that has been my focus over the past year and a half, just creating this course and now it's here, it's finished, and I'm launching it to the world just to kind of, it's just really a course that kind of were some basic principles for me that I learned along the way, that people have shown me along the way, that I've learned from people like yourself, along the way, that just like, man, when somebody told me this and I started applying it, it really changed my trajectory, whatever area of life I was in. And so I was like, man, like I want to give this knowledge to other people. Like I always say, I'm not a licensed therapist or anything like that. I just really have lived the school of hard knocks. I've done a lot of trial and error, as you know from the story. So man, I think that's the best teaching tool, man, when you can live things and go through it and fail multiple times and get up and figure it out. And man, and this might help somebody else figure out how they can get started and avoid some of the the pitfalls I had along the way. And so that's been my process.
So talk to the young musicians out there, man, because our conversation the other day, every conversation that we have hits me huge. Even the ones where you don't pick up the phone, because I call your butt a lot, and there's a lot of times where I get your answer machine, or well, some old school people are going to hear answer machine. I'm getting voicemail, but I know you're clicking like call screening. You see my number, and you're like because you haven't even logged my name in yet, and you're like, I don't know who this number is, but it might be Kelly's. I'm screening. I'm just joking. But when we got a chance to talk the other day, it really, really impacted me, man. I sat in it for a while, and you were telling me that you've had so many crazy opportunities now as you've gone along, but because it wasn't in line with your purpose, which is music, you were like, I would much rather do music and maybe not have the shine, maybe not go to those opportunities. Can you talk to that right now? Because we are in a land and we are in a world right now where a lot of people are like, even though I don't believe in it, it might make me a lot of money.
Right. Well, I think that's great. And that's one of the things I even talk about on the course. A lot of times when you think of the life, even the words, the good life, you think of like everything's perfect. Everything has to align a certain way. A part of the good life is being able to be, the scripture I use in here is Philippians, as Philippians 4:11-13. It's just like I learned to be content in all things, whether I have plenty or I have a little bit, because I know I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. So it's kind of that thought process in every part of your life, even when things aren't going great, even when you get, hundreds of shows canceled for the rest of the year. You got to figure out, okay, well, how is this a part of the good life? You know what I'm saying? And when you can change that perspective in your mind, then you can literally live it out even when things don't seem great. And so for musicians who think, like, well, like I say, I believe opportunities are great, and I try to accumulate, as many as I can and be a steward of them. But I don't believe every opportunity that comes my way is for me. Some is for me to steward along to someone else, or or maybe even leave that opportunity for somebody else, because I I have a passion and I have a purpose. And when you understand who you are and what you're called to do specifically, then you can focus in a lot easier on which one of these are for me and which aren't for me. And it doesn't mean these other ones aren't really enticing. Like the money is really great, the limelight that you get is really great. And so sometimes that can be a hard thing, but because I've experienced both ends, I come from a lot of, a very impoverished kind of situation, and I've had plenty, what I'm saying? I've been at the top, what I feel like is the top, plenty of money where I didn't think about money, all these things. And I think back in my mind on the best days of my life, and those always, it was never attached to how much money I had or how much shine I had. It was always attached to what purpose I was living in and what purpose I was walking out in. And so when you start kind of understanding that, then like when the dollar signs come, it's not as appealing as once before. Now that's hard to tell somebody who might hasn't had that opportunity, because I try to tell like my cousins and my family, somebody's like, man, we gotta get this dollar bill, man, and I understand that, but then like I'm like, because like I have a lot of family members who are musicians as well, and deals are coming their way, they're doing really good, starting to build, but I'm trying to speak to them about contracts. I'm like, hey man, this is not, all that glitters is not gold. This is not exactly where you want to end up. I was like, I'm gonna give you my advice, but you're left to do what you want to do. And I try to share from my experience, and that's kind of what it's about, And so that's what I would say to, these young musicians coming up. First of all, just make sure you stay aligned with your purpose. You know what I'm saying? And the opportunities that come, the ones that align with your purpose, man, go for them, head on. But there will come other ones that will kind of, distract you and make you want to go to the left or to the right. So, you got to be careful of that.
Talk to us about one that led you to the left or to the right, and you were like, well, no one will see. I mean, I know you're perfect, Damien, but okay, I know you're perfect, and I know you're dropped from heaven, because if you've got to experience him in concert, the last concert, and I mean, there's levels to these things. I told you this the other day, and I experienced you, and I saw you, and I was like, oh, I mean, probably one of my favorite musicians ever, and then I saw you level up on a completely different place where we were at an event. You weren't supposed to play. And you just happened to have a backpack on that had on my life, a collapsible, I had never seen it before, guitar. And you were like Desperado. You broke it out and you went into, and you flowed from song to song to song to song to, I mean, all the way through those things, right? Amazing. But I'm not letting you off the hook. Okay. When's the because you thought I was going to let you off the hook. I know, that question. We were moving away. No, I'm not. I'm just giving some context because I want people to understand how amazing you are. But then we're going to understand the human side of Damien.
Yeah.
Take us to that place, because when you get hundreds of places or hundreds of gigs canceled, and we're not talking about small gigs here. Ladies and gentlemen that are listening, this is not him being able to play at the local youth center or for the Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
This is big stuff. This is all around the world. This is touring all around the world. Take me to a place where you're like, that's shiny, and, it's probably not in line with my purpose, but I'm about to grab that bad boy because, bologna sandwich isn't going to work for today.
Right. Well, I'll give you like kind of a general, story. I don't want to use any names because I don't want to incriminate anybody. But I've had opportunities, multiple opportunities, and some I've been, on the straight and narrow with, and some I went for the bag, and just to be honest, I went for the bag, and I say that in the sense of like purpose, because for me and who Damien Horne is and what Damien Horne wants to give the world is positivity, like good energy, good vibes, and things that are noble and of good rapport. And this is what I want to feed the world. And now there's some artists out there who that's not their alignment, and so I've been approached so many times from different artists. It's like, hey, could you be on this track, or could you play on this track, or could you sing on this track, could you do this show with me, and kind of what their messaging is. If you go to the Damien Horne site, it says the man, the music, the message. And those things are important to me, like the man that I am, the music I create, and the message that I'm putting across. Now, I will have to say there have been times where I compromised with the other side for a dollar bill for, the messaging, not necessarily coming from me. And I'm like, well, I'm not saying it. I'm just playing. I'm just singing. And those things, man, never make me feel good at night. It didn't matter how much money I made from it. When I went to bed that night, and put my head on the pillow, man, my stomach hurt. And that's one of the things, I had to learn that lesson, and I'm definitely beyond that now in my career. And I'm not going to say, I will say this, I still fight this all the time, because you have those kind of opportunities to come, but I've done a whole lot better, moving forward. But, those opportunities come, and like what I said, sometimes there's things that don't align with your purpose that, that can look shiny and can offer, something that looks great. But man, like for me, if it doesn't align with my purpose and my messaging and who I want to be and what I want to portray to the world and give to the world and leave the world, then like at the end of the day, man, it leaves me sick. It really does. It just leaves me sick to my stomach. So to say that, I have missed out on opportunities as well that people believe like, man, you could have taken your career here. You could have been with these people. You could have been doing these things. And at the end of the day, that's not the mark I want to leave. And so I had to reconcile that within myself, So, but, there definitely have been times where I was like, you know what? I don't know if anybody would really notice this. And then like, I get a, I get a video message from somebody like, were you just on stage with this person singing what? Like, it's just, one of those things, But learn from my mistakes. This is what I say. Learn from my mistakes.
So
it's not worth it.
Let's break it down in those three. I mean, when people are listening and they hear purpose, right? And a lot of times when you hear something like this, I'm struggling for words because I want to make sure that it gets out to the listeners correctly. Mm-hmm. When you hear a message from you that you've seen the mountaintops, when you hear a message from a Gary Spellman, seen the mountaintops, mm-hmm. from a John Paul, seen the mountaintops, that says to you, and the Damien Horns of the world, fall in line with your purpose. When you fall in line with your purpose, everything's going to work out. Talk to that person who is in the valley and never been on the top of the mountain. Right. How do they start to construct the man? Because let's break it down. You said man, music, and message. How do they start to construct the man? Where do they start? Because they could say, and a lot of people do when on the show. Like I had one person tell me, I listened to you a lot, but I had to stop listening because it's way too positive, and I have a lot of bad stuff in my life, and I can't connect with that. And I said, whoa. How do they build the man first?
Man, and this is because you're asking me, and I have to be true to my message. And my message is this: to me, it never comes outside of God, not completely. You can't find that. It's like who better knows? I use this analogy a lot. Who better knows what the iPhone is created for than the creator, Steve Jobs? Like his vision, his creation, what he morphed in his mind and made come to fruition. Like who better knows the design and what we're made for and created for than the creator? So you have to start with the creator. And this is not me like, being preachy or anything like that. It's just me like stating what I believe to be facts. It's just like you can't understand the creation if you don't understand, have any kind of connection with the creator. And I always say it like this, like I make it like an infomercial to people. I'm like, man, try it for 30 days. Like if it ain't changing your life, man, go back to what you was doing. You know what I'm saying? Like just try it. And the way to do that, man, is just kind of like, just getting into the word and getting yourself around people who understand that, and just take some of that information and apply it. You would do that with anything that you would try to do in life. If you were trying to learn how to build a home and you knew a friend who was a carpenter, he'd be like, look, follow me. This is how you do it. If you look at people's life and you say, like you're saying, you're naming the Garys and the John Pauls, if you're naming these guys and you're seeing their lives and you see where they are and what they've done, then you ask them like, well, how do I get there? What did you do to get there? And if people are looking at me and asking that question, that's where it started. My first discovery was God. Second, and because of that discovery, I discovered purpose. And then outside of that purpose, I discovered ways to shine, which is what I call living out that purpose. And that's shining. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, when I step into what I do well, it shines, you know what I'm saying? And then it liberates other people to do the same thing. So, but I feel like you got to start with the creator. That's how you start, you know, and you don't have to be you can, and the cool thing about that, you can be at any level of life. You can be a person who feels like everything is going negative in their life. You can be a person with a temper. You can be a person who has a lot of money or no money. It doesn't matter. You can start where you are, where you're at, and who you are. And that's the way he receives us. You know, he's the creator. So I feel
You
like discovering him will help you discover who you are and what you're designed to be.
So, Damien, you have this innate ability, man. Whether it's, I mean, when we were waiting for our Uber in Austin when they weren't coming, you remember exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When we're freaking out, like we're not going to make the flight, and your woman is there, and you're trying to stay calm, but you're like, damn, I mean, if it doesn't happen, she's gonna, you know. And because I remember you guys had to get back for like it was like a birthday or something like that, but at every time that I've seen you, you are present 100,000%, even when you're about to go on and play.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you that I'm ready to do backup. Which I mean, no musical talent at all, but I remember telling you, man, I got your back, and I got backup, and you were like, you need to stay in the back, and I'll call you. Just don't come. Yeah, but I'll call you. Even at that point, when you're just about to go on and play, and I give you a joke like that, you are so 1,000% present. How are you able to do that, and how could someone be present in their life?
Well, I feel like understanding. I feel like understanding what moments we have. Like, man, the present is a present. You know, it is a present. Like the moment that we live in now is a present. It's a gift. You know, like the past is something we can learn from. The present is our present, and the future gives us hope for tomorrow. So it's like when I think about, because tomorrow is not promised to any of us. You know, it's like you know, we live in you know, in times now where you see just, you know, crazy things happening, from viruses to, you know, all kinds of things are happening in this world. And so like I try to be as present in the moment as I can be, because I recognize that it's a gift. You know, as I get older, unfortunately, I see, you know, and I saw a lot of this as a young man, but like even as I get older, you see more and more people, you know, leave this earth, you know. And so it's just like you start to realize how precious each moment is. So every day I get another day, I'm like, this moment is special. Absorb it, take it in for what it is, you know. And that's just my mindset with every day and everything that I get to do. So it's a present, it's a gift. The present is a present. So
Damien, the second part of this is then when you said your music. And for the people out there with no musical talent, just like myself, like none, absolutely none. I can't even hit the tambourine at the right pace. And I'm not saying that's a simple situation, but I should be able to hit that and stay on with you. When you're talking about the music, you're not just talking about playing instruments and not singing. Each and every person has their own music.
Mm-hmm.
How can
Correct.
a person find their music?
And so the music is like to me, the music is the tool. It's the tool that you've been given. And we all have been given a tool or a gift or an ability or a talent that we use for our messaging and our purposing. You know what I'm saying? And the crazy thing was, when I was growing up, I had that a little off. You know, I thought music was the purpose, you know, and so it's like, oh, the purpose is play music, make money, be famous, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then as I got older, I was like, no, wait, I you know, those thoughts and process started to align. It was like, oh, the music is the tool, it's the avenue. So like I say, how you find your tool or your gifting is like, you gotta do some self-assessment, some self-analyzing. And then like, man, I like, even I tell people, even in this course, I talk about how you find people around you who know you, and listen to them. Like people like, man, you have a gift at this, you have a talent. Sometimes you can't recognize it in your own self, and sometimes the people around you can recognize that in you. before I felt like I had music ability, when I was getting booed off the stage as the Three Blind Mice. You remember those days, the Next to Kin
Next to
days.
Kin, go
Yeah,
back and listen to the first episode, and you will see Next to Kin. Next to Kin is coming back. It's coming back this
it's
year.
coming back.
2022 is Next to Kin's time.
And the Backstreet came back. We're gonna bring our middle-aged boy band back, and we're coming. We're gonna hit the airwaves. I'm telling you, it's time to bring Next to Kin back. But even during that time, when I was literally getting booed off the stage, there were people around me who recognized potential, and then they spoke that positivity in my life, and so it was like it kept me from like I'm never doing this again, because some people would have that experience of like I'm done with this, but then there were people who were like, no, you got something, like we can sharpen this tool, we can teach you how to use it correctly, and you can find ways to do that, but there's something there. And so I would say that to anybody who's looking for their music, their gifting, first of all, just kind of look at what natural abilities you have, things that you're passionate about, something that you can do. Whether people, I always say, for me, I found the thing that I would do, and I hope this doesn't get out. It's going to be out everywhere now. But I found something that I would do whether people would pay me or not. Like whether people paid me or not, I would play music. That wouldn't stop me. And it was a gifting and a tool that I had. And so when you're that passionate about something and you have that ability, that's how you can find that music in your life.
When I talked earlier, Damien, I said there's levels to this stuff. And there's a time, like when you're playing music now, and I saw it the last time that I saw you play, there was this click, there was this level that you experienced where you weren't thinking about the music. And I've seen you, and I've watched you, and you've always been phenomenal, but this was a different level. How does one go from the technique, because you have to have the technique. If you're going to play the guitar, you're going to sing, you have to have the technique. If you're going to, if your gift is, whatever that gift is, if your gift is cooking or your gift is,
Right.
Doing hair or whatever it is, there's this click that happens that you don't have to think about it anymore. How does a person get to that place and that flow? And I don't know if you realize it. I think you do.
Right.
But now when you play music, and anyone out there that you get a chance to see him play music, you'll see this, because it's not like he's thinking about the guitar. Like he's not thinking about how he sounded. He's just connecting on this crazy level, and the most amazing music is there.
And you just said that's the key, I feel like, to that kind of thing. I mean, you spend years and lifetime. I still, every day I get up and I get at my instrument and I, try to perfect what I'm doing. I still do it because I love it that much. Like I said, like I'm sitting practicing, scales and chord progressions and new ways of approaching music still to this day. But I think when you get to the point where you're efficient enough to deliver it, like it's almost like, like if you were this master chef and you've gotten everything down on how to cook and the recipes correct, then you start adding your own little flair, like you're able to kind of enjoy the process, and like and where it clicks and goes over is now you're not just focused on the meal or you're focusing on the ability, you're focused on others now. So like now when I'm up there, like I can interact with, like, people, and not just like on a surface, like I'm entertaining you level, like I feel like I can literally read the room and be like, man, this person needs a connection. This person needs what I'm putting out, what I'm saying? And so I can connect there, and it's a, it's an ability thing, it's a God thing, it's an energy thing, it's a discernment thing. And that's kind of, I think, the next level. I feel like great musicians can do that. Like they can get on, not just musicians, any, people in general. Even when you're like having a conversation with somebody, I feel like God has given me the ability of discernment. I can talk to somebody for like 2 minutes and almost tell where they're at in life, how they're feeling, what, like what is needed in order to kind of help pull them into a better space. And that's all I want to do. What I feel like my gifting is like when I leave people, I want to leave them better than when I met them. So I can do that in conversation. I can do that playing music. I can do that, delivering a pizza. I feel like you can do that in any walk of life, any facet of life.
Talk to us about transitions. I've never seen a musician transition the way that you do. I mean, the melody that you had when the last time it was at PLH, and you went from, and I can't even remember all of the songs, and I don't remember, but when I was experiencing them, I remember one of them was Uptown Funk.
Mm-hmm.
And you transitioned from so many different songs, and everybody was on the dance floor. And it was like, talk to us about that and how you're able to not only you transition in music like nothing I've ever seen. The other comparison, people are going to get mad at this when I say it, but the only connection point to transition that I can think of is when I was at the Roots concert, and the Roots are doing their own music, and then they go into playing some rock and roll, and then they come back into theirs, and that transition. Talk to us about these transitions and how you were able to master it.
It comes from a few things, you know. One is definitely a level of musicianship when you've kind of like understand how music works and construct. It's like the language, you know, like for me, I've been learning Spanish for the past 5 years, and my fiance is Mexicana, so when I'm first starting off, like buenos dias, you know, you're kind of fumbling through. You can know the words, but you're trying to like speak them. But then the better you get at doing it, the more fluent it gets, and then you also recognize how things complement each other. And so musically, it's the same thing. It's a language that is music is a universal language. It's this language that like literally speaks, you know, from chord progression to chord progressions. There's mathematical equations that's happening all the time in circles of fifths and fourths and the third. You know, these things are happening, and I understand all these things as a musician. But once you kind of get fluent in it, then you like, and if you have an ear for that kind of thing, you hear, like, I'll play a song and I'll hear 20 other songs as I'm playing that song. And I'm like, oh, let's just go into that song. And that's kind of how that comes about. It's musicians who do that and know that, really, like the Roots is a great example of that. Like that, you know, they know the language of music so well. Like they can pull anything into, you know, what they're doing. And so as I'm going, a lot of times when I'm playing, I do it every time I play out. You know, I'll hear something different. I was like, oh, I never heard this song in this song before, but now I'm going to put it in this song, and just the transitions of that. So it comes from a level of like musicianship and an ear for the language of music.
Let's dive into this, something that you just said, where you said you wake up and you practice your instrument. Never in a million years would I think a Damien Horne would be practicing scales at the level that Damien Horne is playing at. Can you talk to this a little bit?
Yeah, because I always, you know, my thought process in life is if you're not increasing, you're decreasing, you know. And so like I don't ever feel like I want to get to, and I don't think I know I won't ever get to the point where I feel satisfied at where I'm at, you know. And there's always level. As good as a musician as I've become, I know there's so much more to achieve and so much further I can go. So like that's what keeps me, you know, motivated to move forward, because I'm a worker bee like that. Like I like the work. I like the hard work, you know. And that's one of the things. And I say this to people a lot of times. A lot of the opportunities I know. Now this might debunk some of what you said before, but I know zillions of musicians who are way better than I am. I just do. I know that. I understand my ability and my level, but my opportunities a lot of times come, I know, from God and just putting in the hard work. Attitude and effort, man, those two things, man, are the things that like keep, you know, these opportunities to shine coming in. And for me, playing music, I love it. I'm passionate about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like it's fun for me to get up and like, oh, like let me learn this gospel, you know, pentatonic scale. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like I enjoy that kind of stuff. It'd be like, you know, like what you're doing. You're like, man, like I'm learning more about this podcast, and I'm adding this, and I'm adding this. Like, man, this is a phenomenal podcast. You'd be like, oh, but I can do more. I can do more, you know. And so it's just kind of that same desire, you know.
And how is it that you stay humble? I mean, this is a thing that you know, when I talk to you, you make me feel like I'm the only person on earth, even when you don't answer my calls.
even when you don't answer my calls. I feel like the only person on earth.
I'm
No,
kidding.
that's really when you
Yeah,
feel like the
because I
only
am,
person.
because ain't nobody answering my damn call is what it is. I'm by myself. I'm like, I'm the only one on earth now. And Damien is talking with everybody
Oh,
else. I'm joking with you,
that's
man.
funny.
I'm giving
That's
him a hard time because I love the guy. And, but every time that I talk to you, man, I mean, it really is, it's this heartfelt, again, I go into the presence part of it, but there seems to never be an agenda with you, man. Like there never is. And how do you stay in that mode? And there's very few of you in this world, man, that are that way. How, like, help us with that. And why is that so important to, again, a world that is constantly like, and I'm sure you hear this as a musician or you heard it early on. How are you monetizing that? How are you monetizing that? How are you going to be able to do this? And it's like, I'm not doing it to monetize. I'm doing it because I absolutely love it. But talk to us about being able to stay in that pocket, in that lane, when you live in a world of people constantly like, okay, well, how can I take a Damien and then turn him into a product and then turn him into this, and as we go?
Well, it's not an easy thing, you know, but there's some things you can definitely do to be intentional about it. And for me, like I said, it always starts with staying aligned with the word. You know what I'm saying? That's the number one thing for me. I always got to stay aligned with the word. And the second thing is accountability. Man, I keep people in my life who are like-minded, who have the same heart, but also will give me the hard truths. Be like, hey, you ain't been answering my calls. You know what I'm saying? I got people who keep me humble. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, like you ain't that big that you shouldn't be answering my phone calls, you know, like, so like, I think that's important, you know, like I'm always very aware of where I come from and what gifts I've been given. None of this is like mine, you know what I'm saying? I'm just a steward of these things. And so with that perspective, it keeps me in a place of humility, because it's like, hey, at any moment, you know, like 2 years ago, I had my thumb ripped off my hand, you know, which could have changed my whole, you know, playing ability, you know what I'm saying? And like, you know, it's very quickly, you know, things can be taken from you, out of your life, in and out of your life. And so I've just learned to be in the moment, be present, be with the present that I have in front of me, and then be appreciative of it. Because, you know, I don't feel like, honestly, I don't feel like I've earned any of these things. I feel like, you know, I've done my part. You know, I try to keep a good attitude and put effort in, and that's what I know to do. And then the rest, like, all right, God, you gotta create this, man. You gotta create the opportunities. You gotta open these doors. You gotta close these windows. Even when I'm trying to like get in, hey man, let me get some money to get on that. You know, like, you gotta shut it, because I'm not perfect by any means. You know, so like, and those are the things that kind of keep me humble. God has really given me a great balance of life. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Paul talks about, he's like, you know, I don't ever want like too much where like I would be like, you know, not dependent on you, but I don't have me at a place where I have too little, where I feel like you've neglected me. And that's where I feel like he's put me in a sweet spot. You know, there's still so much more I want to attain, but he's given me so much that it's put me in this sweet area of like, man, like I know he's watching out for me and he's guiding. And so it keeps me in a posture of humility.
Damien, now I love the humility too, because you were like, you were going to debunk some things that I said, because there's so many musicians that are so much better than you and all this stuff. I still don't believe that. I mean, honestly, like watching you and experiencing you as a musician, and maybe it's, I mean, I would like, maybe in my mind, I'm thinking maybe I'm, you know, because he's such a good friend and because I know who he is, it makes the music sound sweeter. And then I stop myself and I'm like, no, because I go back to the recording that I have on my phone of you playing and your transitions. And I'm like, no, I mean, he's just that damn good. What are you working on right now as a musician? When you're saying working on getting better, talk to us about I want, in the last couple of days, what are the things that you're working on that you're like, I want to move this, or whether it be with your guitar, with your singing, whatever it is, what are you working on right now?
Well, every day it's on my schedule. Like if I'm looking to my right, which is a huge dry erase board, it has like literally.
Damien, before you go into that, do you have a guitar near you?
I do.
Okay. I just wanted to ask that. Continue
Yeah.
on. Continue on.
So like I have a huge dry erase board here, and it kind of gives me like what I want to achieve for the year, things I need to do. And then I have like a kind of scheduling. And every day from Monday through Friday, I have to practice piano, I have to practice guitar, I have to practice vocals. I do that every day. Like I sit down, like last night I didn't get to it till super late last night, but I sit down and run through scales on the keyboard and practice some lead stuff on guitar. And then I do vocal runs and riffs and work on it. I do that every day. Every day. Definitely Monday through Friday.
What did you work on today? What did you do today?
Today, when I first got up, it's the first thing I do. When I first got up, I literally sat at my piano and just started playing through some songs that I haven't played on the piano in a while. And so I play so much. So a lot of that becomes my practice. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I play so much. So like people are like, well, why do you still practice? Because like, I don't want to get in the space of like, oh, like this is it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so there's always something new to be innovative. Like I feel like some of the best music I wrote was when I really didn't know what I was doing, And so the discovery of it, I want to keep that alive. So sometimes I'll just sit at the piano or sit at my guitar and just do something weird, something that doesn't make sense from what I know now. Because now I have a lot of musical knowledge. And sometimes with that, you start putting yourself in this box. It's like, oh, you can't go outside of this anymore because this is the rule set. But I some of my favorite music and some of my favorite music that other people tell me about is some of the earlier stuff that I created when I didn't even know what I was playing. I just had the ear for music. I didn't know I was playing an E minor 7 and going to a C9. I didn't know that. I just knew it sounded good. So I found it and played it. And so I still do that from time to time. Like this morning, I just got up and I kind of went to the keyboard and I just kind of clunk around and just like, oh. And then it just kind of spurs me into another thought idea. And I just kind of build on it. I do that kind of thing all the time.
Take us through the construction of writing a song.
Okay.
And I want you to nerd out. I don't want you to think like,
okay.
Because there masters at their craft like you. A lot of times they're like, well, a lot of people aren't going to understand this part of it, so they're not going to be interested. No, every one of us is interested. And we want, like, take us through that process.
So, I mean, like for me, it goes a lot of different ways. And I will say this, I feel like first and foremost, I'm a songwriter. That's like what brought me to the game. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember listening to Surface on the radio back in the day, and listening to their songs and be like, oh, I want to write a song. So I literally like take their music and write a song over their music, So like, that's kind of how I just love construction of songs and lyrical content and that kind of stuff. So for me, it happens in a lot of different ways. A lot of times I'm inspired by the sound of music. So I'll find a progression. And what that means is like either, maybe 4 or 5 chords, 3, 4, 5 chords that come together at one particular point. And when I hear a certain progression that moves me in a way, then I start thinking about, well, what does that feel like to me? Like, oh, this is very minor sounding, like it's in a minor key. So it feels, man, like this sounds like a sad song. And then like I just kind of keep playing it. And then I start thinking about things in my life or something I might have been talking to somebody about that day that had that feeling that matches that music. And then I just start building from there. So it's like, if we were talking about like, I find a minor chord and be like, you didn't pick up the phone today, like something, something somebody was sad about that we talked about, anything. And then it just starts, and I just build it from there. And so like, if my whole premise is based on like somebody not answering, a phone call, then I can literally construct a song based on that whole, thought process. And I branch off to different ideas and thoughts from that. And I just build.
So starting with that, I think I'm frozen too. So a lot of people think that I've just got this funny look on my face, this weird look on my face.
I think you did. I was like, that's why I stopped there.
I know. I don't know what I know. I saw your face and I was like, I saw your face look at me and I'm still there too. I'm still locked in, this is going to be great for the rest of the show. It's going to be locked in just like that, which is great. It's awesome. So take us to the, I can't even take myself seriously.
Everything that I say from now on is going to be funny. I like it. So it's good.
So take us to the how you construct that second verse. I mean, are you looking for something to rhyme? Because for a person who doesn't write songs, this is what we always think. We're always in that roses are red, violets are blue situation. That's where
Right.
we
Right.
have the tendency to do. So what is like how are you able to like take yourself there? I mean, what's your process?
Yeah, so once I kind of get the theme of where I want to go, like if I'm talking about love, if I'm talking about heartbreak, if I'm talking about whatever the case may be, once I kind of get the theme and I have a progression, this is normally, sometimes it goes the other way. Sometimes I'll have somebody will say a cool lyrical line. I'm like, man, I could create a whole, song process based on just that one line. So, but a lot of times for me, like I said, it starts with music. I create music and then I kind of create a thought process or a feeling over that music. And if the song is about heartbreak, I kind of construct this. I usually personally go back to something in my life where I felt that, or at least somebody close to me I know has explained a story to me about heartbreak, and I build on that. And yeah, I use rhyme. I'm a big believer in using rhyme because I like to write stuff that sticks with people, and rhyme is just one of those ways that help like lock things into your mind. So, and even there's like a little like songwriting template for people who are kind of getting started. It says like this is how you write a song. Keep each line about this long. Uh, if you can, make it rhyme and try to keep it all in time. So if you kind of keep, like that is like kind of the feel of like even the first songwriting process that I even had was just like, oh, write a song and keep each line about this long, make it rhyme, keep it in time. And then you construct from that. Now that's the very basic like 101 approach to that. And then like I said, when you have an idea of like, how to start constructing, the cool thing about music, which I love, you can break the rules. You don't have to make it rhyme. Each line doesn't have to be this long. You can construct. That's the beauty of music because it's up to your interpretation and your, how you want to construct it. And man, it can go all kinds of ways. I got songs that, that rhyme, very poppy, a lot more pop stuff rhymes and has, that kind of straightforward cadence. And then like very kind of alternative stuff, doesn't rhyme a lot, and it has a different kind of cadence to lyrical content. It's all over the place, all over the board. So,
I want to compliment you because and I want to talk about this part of it because my camera is obviously stuck. These are things that happen in life, right?
right.
And so when we talk about the man, then we talk about the music as far as your gift. Let's go to the message because a lot of times we get caught up in the message, just like what we're doing right now, where you look at my silly face and it's like, this is what circumstantially happens in life.
Mm-hmm.
How are you able to construct the message when there's so many other things that are happening and coming in? So you get in line with your creator. That's what you were talking about earlier.
Right.
You start to understand your gifts and realize that they're a gift, which keeps you humble, but then you master your gifts. You master that music. Now we're coming into the message. It took a while for you to craft the message. How does someone start to craft their message once they've started to master their craft?
I think like a lot of these things start with who you are as a person, what you're passionate about, and what you feel called to do. In the course, the Good Life course, I actually interviewed Manny in there, and he kind of talks about his calling and what he's called to do in life. And I think for each of us, it starts back with self. You have to kind of figure out what it is I want to say to the world. What do I want to impart on the world? What do I want to leave on the world? And me, ultimately, it comes back to me just wanting to share the good news of Christ. I want to do that. And it's different for everybody. Everybody has their way of doing that. And the way that I do that is through music, the way that I present myself, present the content that I give to the world. And that's ultimately what I want to give to the world. I just want to reflect and shine a light back onto the creator, because like I feel like for me, that has been the best decision I had ever made in my life. It totally changed my perspective on life, the way I approach life. And I've lived a good life, even in spite of all the tough, hard things I had to go through to get to that point. And so I'm like, man, if he could change my life and turn it into this beautiful, a flower that it is now, that he can do that for anybody, and I know there's so many people who are searching for, like, man, purpose and something, a reason to get up every day, and just a better future and a better life. It's possible. It's possible for anybody at any walk of life. I don't care how old you are, what, ethnic background you are, what you come from. Like, it's possible for all of us, but it starts with the Creator. It starts with God, and it starts through knowing him, and then discovering what your purpose is, and then walking in it. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to, like, it's not a perfect thing, like, even as we talk about how things align, even for example, like, the course for me was supposed to launch Monday, and I literally had technical difficulties happen on that Monday. So I was like, oh, okay, well, and I did a Motivation Monday about it. And I was like, look, hey, delay is okay. It happens sometimes. This is a part of, life and things that we go through. And then now, now I'm back on course, just like you are. We're back on course now. It's okay that it kept going, and we still see the fruit of that. So,
well, I think that it's one of those things where you run into hiccups like we did. I mean, you look at my silly face on there. We're working with the cameras and all those things. And I love that this happens in real time, because most of the time people see a Damien Horne and think life is perfect for Damien. Everything works well. And it's okay for you to give me this advice, Damien, but everything's great in your world. Right? And
which is not true. But yeah.
Well, and
exactly.
I know because you're a human being, but also
Right.
I would never know by your attitude.
Mm-hmm.
I would never know by that, And how are you able to? It's one thing to have that attitude, and then when you have relationships with people, not everybody has that attitude. How are you able? Because this is a question I get all the time. How are you able to keep that attitude when you have people in your life or people around you, and we can't avoid them? Because some people are like, no, just get those negative people out of your life and everything's going to be fine. I'm like, then you would live on an island by yourself.
Yeah.
So when Damien is, vibrates at this high level, how are you able to do that in relationship with people and continue to grow?
Man, that's a good question. And it is a tricky thing, but the things that I personally do, and which, like I said, I talk about on the course, first of all, is like, I give myself permission to be upset, to be negative, to be mad, to be like, the thing is like, I think a lot of times people think, oh, if you're going to be a happy person, you got to be like this all the time happy. Like, like I was bummed when, like, I told everybody, look, my course is hitting Monday, be here, blah, blah, blah. And then it didn't happen, so I was upset about that. Even my partner, she called me and she was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I just need to take this moment to accept it for what it is. And I was like, let me pout about it for today, and then I'll be good tomorrow. She's like, all right, I got it. Like, first of all, I take the time to acknowledge those feelings. You can't, like, I think avoiding feelings is the wrong way to approach it. So, like, you might haven't called Damien Horne at a low moment, but if we get more time together, it'll probably happen, because it does. It's like, because, like, I don't try to hide those, and I don't try to keep those. I mean, we're on the podcast and everything's great, and the course is working now, so it's good. Like, we're in a good spot. If this podcast would happen Monday, you might not have been as bubbly Damien Horne on here, but I allow myself to have those moments. But the thing I do that might be different than some is, like, I allot time to do that. I'm like, okay, this is the day. I'll give, depending on the severity of it. Okay, I give this an hour. I'm gonna pout about this for an hour. Man, I really wanted to do that. I really wanted to be a part of that. Woe is me. I'll take my moment and pout and do my thing. But then when I've given myself that, it's gone. I let it go. I move forward. And then the other thing is, when I'm dealing with other people and people's negative approach to me, you've probably read the book, The Four Agreements, but one of the things it talks about in there is, like, I don't take it personally. I don't. And I've gotten better at that the older I've gotten. It's like, because I know I've probably come across, like, there's somebody out there watching this podcast who's like, I ran into this guy. He was a jerk at the grocery store, like, this is not the same guy, so, like, I recognize that people have bad days. I try to put myself in other people's shoes. You never know what anybody's going through, and I literally like, and I always try to keep that in mind anytime I approach anybody who's giving me a negative vibe or negative energy or like that, and I don't take it personally. I try not to take it personally, and I always try to return what I want to see. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why people will catch the bubbly side of me, because if you're shooting negativity at me, man, I'm shooting you back 10 times more with positivity. You know what I'm saying? Because like I think in my mind, it's like, well, maybe this is what they need. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's not about me all the time. It's not me. So, those two things. I give myself time to sit in those feelings in those places because they're real. We're human. Nobody is exempt from them. As much as anybody tries to hide it, there's nobody who is happy 24/7. But you can be happy more than you can be sad, and that's a disposition that comes from, first of all, renewing your mind and what you put around you, what you're feeding your mind, what you're putting in your body, and all these other things.
Talk to us about forgiveness. This is probably one of the hardest things that, I mean, most of the people out there that are listening, you deal with it. I'm trying to forgive my camera for the little debacle that happens. But again, what I love about it is we are not going to edit that. We are not going to edit it. You're all going to see it. And what I want you to realize is on your journey, you're going to have missteps. On your journey,
Absolutely.
On your journey to becoming a star like Damien, you're going to go to LA and think that LA was it. And then you're going to end up on Skid Row for 8 months.
Yes.
On your journey to becoming a world-renowned musician, you're going to have to tuck your tail between your legs and go back to North Carolina.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to get into B210. And then when the $100 happens, the big and rich, the concerts all over the place, then the world is going to shut down, and the only profession,
Exactly.
only profession outside of all of mine, Damien, every one of mine, the only profession that was like you're asked out, like nothing was yours. You're going to have these things go on. But I think there's a lot of people out there that struggle. And if you're out there and you're listening and you're like me, sometimes forgiveness is probably one of the hardest ones. And they say, you hear these, little bathroom quotes, unforgiveness will rot your bones. Unforgiveness, if you hold on to it, it's like burning your own house down. And, you hear all these things and then you're like, but you don't understand what that person did to me.
Yeah.
Talk us through forgiveness.
Forgiveness. That's a strong one because it's so powerful on both sides. Like if you can't learn to do that, it is, it can be so detrimental on all around. But if you can learn to master it, man, like it's going to open up a new world for you. And it's hard. I'm not going to say it's easy, man. I grew up in a lifestyle where so many things happened to me as a kid that was beyond my control. You know what I'm saying? Like, dealing with physical abuse, sexual abuse, things that happened to me as a child. And like to forgive somebody who was an adult, like who knew better and at the mercy of a child and what I had to deal with and go through, like that was a tough one for me to do. But I started to realize like how it just kept me in a place of bitterness, and it kept me in a place of like not being able to like move forward. And it's funny to kind of like piggyback on the quote you were talking about, is burning down your own house. It literally felt like it was destroying me more than this other person, because I wasn't even in contact with the people who did these things to me. It was something I had in me that was just like, I'll never forgive them for what they did to me and this and this and this, and then like they have no idea. They're going on and living their life and doing their thing, and all of this was in me, and so I had to learn to let that go. It's not easy. I will be the first to say that's not an easy thing. But man, everything stems through the Creator, because like when you look at what He did for us, you know what I'm saying, and He sent His Son while we were still sinners to die on our behalf, when we were still neglecting Him. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's the ultimate sign of love and forgiveness. You know what I'm saying? So like when the first thing that I do when I think about anything that I need to apply or what I want to see in my life, you know what I'm saying? I want forgiveness so bad because I know there's times where I needed it, because like I wasn't at my best form and I treated somebody or did something to somebody where I was not at my best form. So I can't ever ask somebody to give me something that I'm not willing to offer. And so I'm like, okay, man, I really want people to have mercy and grace on me when if they catch me on stage, dropping F-bombs or something in a video. Like, oh, I knew it. You're not perfect. But like, forgive me. I had a lapse of judgment. Did that come out of my mouth? Like I want forgiveness. I want mercy. I want grace. And I always tell people, man, in the way to experience those things, if you want that, you got to put it out there. So if I want to be forgiven, I got to forgive. If I want grace, I want mercy. I got to extend grace and mercy and tolerance to people,
What about that person out there that's listening? And I'm going to speak for you. Not for you, Damien, but I'm going to speak for the person that's listening, that's saying, Damien, you don't know what they did. Help me with the process, Damien, because I don't know how to, this person did these things. I feel like first I need to, is it that I contact them and then I tell them how bad it was and then I forgive them? Or do I just forgive them? Or do I not call them? Or do I, help us with this process, because I think a lot of times people don't know where to start. Right.
I think it can be a combination of those things. Some of those situations you might not be able to do certain things, some things, like I know where I had to exercise forgiveness in my life. It was better for me just to learn how to do that internally and let it go. But it was unhealthy for me to reconnect with that, that situation and that particular relationship. But if you feel like there is something that you can, I'm all about, man, building and connecting and reviving relationships, man, because relationships are important, man. We don't get through this life alone, and we all need each other. So anytime I can heal or mend a relationship, I'm all about that. I've been through so many different relationships in my life, with friends and people I've come in contact with, family members, where like we had a bad moment where it just tore us apart, man. And I was like, man, I can't, me personally, I just can't live that way. Like I want to live, the Bible speaks about learn to live at peace with all, with all men. And I want to do that with people. And sometimes you can't do that. And that's just the way that it is, because it's a reciprocal thing. Somebody has to want it on the other end. But I think you have to be okay with that in yourself. You're like, can I let go of this? And can I move on from this? Can I grow from this? Can I forgive? Can I extend that? But like I said, like it's no easy task. I feel like I'm just saying like what I know to say in this situation, because I don't know anybody's particular situation. Like if I think of like the worst thing I could think of is like, this guy murdered my mom and now he's in prison writing me letters saying, please forgive me for killing your mom. Like to me, that would be like the ultimate. I'm a mama's boy. Don't touch mama. Okay. And so like, if that happened, how I would respond to that, and like I said, when you get connected, everything, man, everything goes through the vine. Everything goes through God. When you get connected with God, he starts putting these things in you that's not even of your natural character. Believe it or not, when I was growing up, I had a bad temper. And some people around me can see that. If you ever see me on a basketball court, this whole podcast will be obsolete. I'll just put it like that. But but when you get connected to the vine, man, you start developing characteristics and you get empowered by his spirit to do things that you couldn't do on your own, that you couldn't do by yourself. You're like, man, like normally, man, I would have slapped somebody in the face for that. But like, I'm gonna brush that off. I can move. You start developing these characteristics and you get empowered in ways that you think you couldn't do, and with things you couldn't do. So I would say that to somebody who's struggling with forgiveness. Like I'm like, man, just lock in closer and closer to the word and to God, and he will do the construction on your heart. Because that's the thing, man. Like even when I talk about, the music, the message and the purpose, and when I walk out and everything I do, when you do your podcast, when I play music, like these are tools and we're vessels, man. We're like the vessel. But like it says, we can water the flowers, we can till the ground, but only God gives the increase. He's the only one who can give the increase. So whenever you need that increase in your life, do what you know to do. Water. We can water, till the ground, but we can do all of that we want, but we got to sit there and wait for that plant to grow. There's nothing we can do to make that plant shoot out the ground. That's all him. So as long as we do our part, he'll do his part, guaranteed. So don't stress that. Like just do know what you know to do. And if you can't even do that, ask for his help, man. Like empower me, give me something outside of myself to get through this. And it works. Try it for 30 days. Like I said, 30 days. Try them out. Money back guaranteed. I'm telling you, you can do it.
Hey, for all of you out there listening, you know exactly why I have this guy on the show. You know why he's my friend. You know why I talk what I do about him. And you may think at times, Damien, you give me a hard time and you may think I'm gassing you up, and I'm not. Because the people who get a chance to listen to you, they get a chance to experience you. They experience your heart. They experience who you are. It's unbelievable, the gift, right? The gifts that you have. Talk to us too about because we're in a world a lot of times where people don't take the time to master. And so we're going to go right back into the middle of the music, right? They don't take the time to master their craft. They were given a gift, but they don't master that thing. And you've really just dedicated your whole entire life to continuing. And you're so humble because you're like, I'll never be there. All of us that have heard you or experienced you, and if you've seen him live, you know that, literally, Damien could stop doing scales in the morning, although he'll tell you he wouldn't do that. We would think that you could. Talk to us about how that music or that mastery of your gift really gives you wings and helps you to, it flows into all the rest of it. Because I find that your message is so clear now because your mastery level is, your mastery level and you honoring your gifts.
Yeah. I think it's important, there's a lot of technical stuff that comes with like when you have a gift, like say if you like we keep talking about being a chef, somebody who's a chef, like when you're first starting out, you gotta yeah, exactly put the seasoning on it, but you're so focused on like the right ingredients and making sure everything is correct, and then you serve it to people and you're like, okay, how did they respond to that? And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. And if it's bad, then you go back to the drawing board. It's like, well, maybe this needs a little more of this or less of this. And in the beginning, you're trying to figure those things out. But once you kind of master what you do, I feel like that's when you become like, that's when you become the fish in water. That's when you become the bird at flight, and then there's so much more, freedom in what you can do when you find the mastering of it. And then there's it's the when you're able to like then you can take that tool and use it to really spread the message, whatever message that is you want to spread to people, because then you're not caught up in the process of that particular tool or gift. Now you're living in the interaction of what it does. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like I said, it's like the analogy I always think of is like when if you catch a fish and you put it on the ground, and it's kind of just flopping there. It's like, and then you take it and you pick it up and you throw it back in the water and it goes, it just takes off. It's just like, that's what mastering your gift can do for you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it can allow you to really take off in life and open those, like when I got to a certain level musically, like I started noticing, like before I'm like, hey, can I come play this gig? Like, are you guys, you looking for anybody? Hey, call me back, please. Those things that happen. But then when you develop a mastery of what you do, it's like, bring, hello, okay, yeah, I'm booked. I'm sorry, I can't do that. And then like, I'm literally at a point where I can pass, gigs and things along to other artists that I believe in, who I feel I can do that because of the mastery of what I've done. I've built a mastery of what I do, and now the opportunities that come along with that become plentiful. So I think that's what one of the byproducts of mastering what you do. And then opportunities come, and then when those opportunities come and you're able to display it, you don't only like get up there and just kind of deliver this plate of food. Man, you can do it with your own personality, your own flair, your own message, your own messaging, and you're like this fish in water. And it is amazing to people, because there's nobody, when you tap into what you are and who you are as an individual, there's nobody on the planet who can do that better than you. You just have to figure out what that is and go and master it.
How does someone find their purpose?
Finding your purpose. I'll say this 100 times if I say it once. It all starts with you find purpose in finding the creator. You're a creation. Who created you? What did he create you for? And that's the first place to start. Another place to start is what natural abilities, talents, gifts, passions that you have already. Like there's things in you right now. If you sat and thought, it's like, man, like I really like I really love playing video games. I remember, when I was growing up, that wasn't as big of a thing as, now, but it's like, okay, let's build on that. Let's figure out things that you're passionate about. You have these natural abilities, and then start sourcing these things out, figuring out, okay, well, what can I do that aligns with these things, this thing that I have natural abilities in, natural gifts in, talents, resources already at my disposal. Like your purpose, a lot of time it's really, not to make it feel like it's an easy process to discover, but a lot of times it's right in front of you. Like it's right in front of you. Sometimes we don't recognize it because maybe we're getting these other opportunities, like what I talked about. I was like, oh, let's go over here. Maybe sometimes we don't recognize it by that, or we just fill our lives with, we have a lot of things in this life that we, our 9 to 5s, we got to pay bills, we got to get the kids to work. School, and we got to get to work. It's so much that we got to do. Sometimes we get so distracted on the things that we feel like we have to do. We don't get time to sit down and do inventory of ourselves. And like, who am I? What makes me want to get up every morning? You know what I'm saying? Like, why do I want to get up every morning? Is it like, I know why I have to get up, because of this and this thing, but what excites me about getting up? And I think purpose always is hovering around those things. You know what I'm saying? When you start figuring out what those things, your purpose is right there. It's like, yeah, okay. And then, like I said, and once you step into that purpose, you're going to be that fish in water. You're going to be that bird in flight. And then you're like, oh, this is it. Like I'm thankful that I really feel like I found mine as a kid. You know what I'm saying? When I was really young, I knew what I was really excited about. I love music and that stuff. The purpose understanding came more as I got older, but I already knew when I was a kid. I was like, I told people when I left Hickory, before I came back after failing in Hollywood, when I left the first time, I was like, I'm going to Hollywood. And I was like, either I'm going to be a bum musician or I'm going to do it for a living, but I'm going to be a musician. There was no plan B for me. It was like, this is what I'm doing with my life. Music will be involved. Whether I get paid to do that or whether I just sit on the side of the street and do it, I will be doing music. And so that was the thing that I knew about myself.
Well, it's incredible. The question I'm going to ask you right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know the one that I'm going to ask you if you could do. You said that there's a guitar near you.
Oh, yes.
I keep talking about this. For those of you out there listening, I hope you understand, and I think that you do, being with us on the podcast, riding with us the way that you have, and we appreciate you. But I only speak the things that are in my heart as far as like, I don't have an agenda, right? We're not held by, you have to speak about this, you have to speak about that. Right. I'm saying when I say that this is one of the greatest musicians I've ever heard in my entire life, the reason why I'm saying that is because that's the truth. And you've been hearing me say this for almost an hour or a little over an hour. I talked about transitions and I talked about the flow and I talked about those things. Would there be any way that you could pick up that guitar?
Yeah, of course.
And get us a little, and take us through, like, I don't get to pick the songs. I'm not that guy that rolls up to the DJ and is like, yo, you need to play this, you need to play that. I'm saying, help us with these transitions. Help these people out there to experience a true master at what he does.
All right, so I'll kind of show you this is one of the easier transitions that I do, because you can hear, like I said, music is a language, and it speaks in progressions and a number system. So like a Nashville number system, this chord progression would be like a 1, 5, 6, 4. So like you kind of know that as a musician if you're doing music, but like so the 1 is the tonic, or it's the dominant, tonic, and you go to a 5, which in this case, and then you go 6 and to a 4. So that repeats itself. Now I have a song written to this chord progression. It goes like this. Rain, it's just one of those things. Some days you got it, but hate, oh, hate is only here because somebody taught it. So I sing that song, like, and going in that progression. Now, as you're listening to this song, when I hear this song, I hear like 100 songs, because there's like 100 songs that might not be in the same key, which is a whole nother thing, but it still uses that same progression. And so when I'm playing, I can go into any one of those songs. When I see your face, it's not a thing that I would change, because you're amazing, just the way you are. So I can sing that, like, or I can take it back and be like, so don't stop believing, hold on to that feeling. Street lights, people, do a little journey. I could go into some Jason Mraz. 'Cause I won't hesitate no more, it cannot wait, I'm yours. And I hear like hundreds of songs there's like lots of songs with that progression, that uses that progression. And when you know that and you hear that, then at any moment you can go into a song like, here's a little song I wrote, you might want to sing it note for note, so don't worry, be happy. You can go, I could go on and on. I literally could probably do this for the next 20, 30 minutes. So I could go from song to song, like, cause baby, you're a fire, your work, come on, show 'em what your work, make it go up, 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 as you shoot across the sky. Some Justin Bieber. Cause baby, oh, my baby. I could go on and on for all day long, but that's how.
Hey, hold up, Damien, before you take this off, keep this on for a second.
Okay.
I told you I wasn't going to ask you to do, but could you transition from something in Maxwell to Bruno to Maxwell? Because I think that Maxwell's the high level where my wife thinks Bruno is that.
Okay. When I see your face, so that'll be my Bruno. Not a thing that I would change, because you're amazing, just the way you are. Pretty wings, your pretty wings, your. I say your pretty wings, your pretty wings, your. So you can go like, if you hear it, and even if it's not exactly in the same like progression, if you hear it, you know how to maneuver around the chords melodically and just pull any and every song kind of into it. You can do that for like days and days.
Damien, are you able to now because I think you could do anything. And every person out there, I'm going to clap for every single person out there that was listening, because this is what I'm talking about. Have you ever thought, and I don't even know, but have you ever thought about when, to be able to take someone through the music, the message, and take it through in a song like where you're breaking and talking about it, and then you're going into another part of their music, and then going on into the other?
So I'm glad you said that, because this is another mission of mine, and I've done it in the past, but I want to develop it and create it. I do. I'm fascinated with like one man shows. Like, John Leguizamo has a phenomenal one man show called The Freak. I've seen so many. There's a guy named I think it's Bo Behrman. He has one called Make Happy that is phenomenal. Like, if you ever see it, it's a one man show. It's basically like one person on stage for like an hour 15 minutes, and they're just doing their thing, and they're incorporating with John Leguizamo. He's an actor, comedian, so he does a lot of monologue and like changing voices, and talks like his mom and does his dad, but he does it, like, and it's so cool. I love to see those things. And the kid named Bo does the same thing, but he's a comedian, but he also has some musician ability. And so he kind of incorporates both of those. And so I created my own one-man show called Rise and Shine. And I've done it a few times, but my goal is to build it to a point where I can do like some Broadway and off Broadway productions of just my one-man show of my life. And it literally is that. It's literally me taking you from, birth to the, family deaths, to next to kin, to Hollywood, back to Nashville, to, all of that stuff. But it's also incorporating music and comedy, because I love comedy as well. So incorporating music, comedy, monologues, acting, I dance, I do everything in this kind of one-man show. And I've done it a few times, just as like testing in Nashville, at some theaters here in Nashville. I got some friends who run the Destiny. My friend Sean Whistle runs the Destiny Theater here in Nashville. So I've done it there a couple of times, but I'm building it as I build my confidence to do it on a more regular basis. But yeah, that's one of the things, and it's called Rise and Shine. So it's just like my rise and shine story. It's like rising over adversity and shining, finding purpose and living that out.
Well, Damien, it's amazing because you answered the question I was going to ask you, which was what's next for Damien. But now everyone who experienced your music just a second ago, it blows my mind because, while you're going through, you're saying here's a 6, a 5, and I think did you say a 2? I can't remember. Yep. There was a 2 and a 6 and a 5. Yeah. And I'm thinking, man, okay, all I need is the 2, the 6, and the 5, and I'm good. I'm going on tour. Then I could do backup for you. I'm ready. I'm in the wings. You know what I mean? I'm there. I'm there. But I just think that it's amazing, man, and I want to encourage you because what it is that you're doing, the power that you give to so many people. We as an audience that get to hear you, we want to give it right back to you. And the wings that you give us, it's probably one of the toughest times in my life, was the second PLH that I went to, and we were sitting in the lobby of the hotel, and you sang a song. And I don't remember the exact song itself. It was a Bible verse. I remember that. Mm-hmm. That's the part that I remember. But as you were singing it, I had just lost my mom. About less than a year before. And that day, I don't know if you realize this, but that day was my parents' anniversary. Oh. And I was sitting with my dad, and I mean, he should be losing it. He's the strong one. I lost it. I'm just thinking about it. But you give wings to so many people, man. And, as an audience member, as a super fan, as a friend, as a family member, I want to throw that right back to you because it's not a situation of like if, it's just a situation of when. I mean, rise and shine. I mean, we're all waiting for this, man. We want tickets. We want tickets now. And I want to encourage you, man. So, I started the podcast because of my 2 kids. You know their names, and it's Maddox and McKenna. And, I did it because I wanted to take I think you're one of the most iconic people in my life, man. And I wanted to take them and show them that the Damiens of the world to not only reach the heights that you did, but to understand the purpose in which you were doing it for. Mm-hmm. That you weren't a superhero, that you were a human being. You have blood in your veins, and that you have a phenomenal work ethic. You have incredible, impeccable, unmatched attitude. And that's the key to success. So what advice would you give to Maddox and McKenna? And if you could use their names, it would be awesome.
Maddox and McKenna, this is my advice. And this is one I feel like out of everything I've said today, these are the things that stick, that I feel like have been the most pertinent in my life. First is discovering God. Discover God and what God has called you to do. And whatever that may be, go after it. Don't be afraid of it. Like, he's going to equip you. There's going to be some peaks. There's going to be some valleys. But the good life is about the journey of it. It's not just the destination. The process of it is a beautiful thing. Every moment is precious. And the way to achieve that, you don't have to be the most talented in the world. You don't have to be the smartest, the strongest, the fastest. But I will tell you, these 2 things will help you insurmountably. And that's attitude, good attitude, and effort. put in the effort, have a good attitude with everything you do, and just doors literally will fly open. And then you walk in that path that God has put in front of you. Don't be afraid of anything. Be fearless. Be fearless, because it's okay to fail. It's okay to get back. It's okay to go to LA and fall on your face and come back to North Carolina and then go to and fall on your face there and go to it's okay to do all those things, because that's the beauty. I'm telling you, when I look back on my life, the moments that stick out to me the most, that give me the most, joy, is moments where like I I had these encounters where I was sitting on the side of the street playing and somebody walked by me, and this is why I'm homeless. And I'm like, man, you got something, like those little moments and nuggets of hope that people gave me in those moments, like they stick out to me way more than the stadiums I've played. I've played in stadiums, like hundreds of thousands of people, you know what I'm saying? And I remember, the most was the little, almost dive bar places I played in Nashville coming up, or even in North Carolina coming up, and just how it felt to be alive and doing what I love to do. And the pursuit of that good life and purpose and that stuff is just as, fueling and good as the final destination. You know what I'm saying? So I would say get connected to God, follow his purpose, and follow it with good attitude and good effort. And no.
Damien, you are amazing. You always blow me away. You blew me away with the music today. And I thank you for that, man. I thank you for that. Not only that, but any of you out there listening, you could get a hold of Damien through DamienHorne.com. The course just dropped. I've never talked about a course on this podcast, ever. The reason why I am talking about this course, because you know now who Damien is. And if you got the opportunity to spend time with one of the true masters of their craft, the Good Life program, guys, it's a no-brainer. DamienHorne.com. You need to check him out on Instagram, check him out on Facebook. You need to check him out anywhere where you can, although don't call him because he probably will not answer you. I'm joking. He answers my calls all the time. And I mean, honestly, like it's incredible to me to have a friend, not only at the level that you are in your profession, and I know you're humble about this, but also that the level of, more importantly, the level of your heart. And to be able to have someone that I get to call a friend, that I get to call a brother, and that I get to call means the world to me, man. DamienHorne.com. You need to go to the website today. You need to check this guy out. And then I'm going to give a little sneak peek, because I don't know if any of you could get invited, but I'm invited. And Damien is doing a concert in July 23rd in Lehi, Utah. Probably one of the coolest concerts that are going to be there. If you could get an invitation, possibly, Damien's going to be there. And Damien is going to be going, I mean, is there any upcoming shows right now that a person can experience the Damien Horne that we've been talking to today?
Yes, I'll be having all these posted on my my website, DamienHorne.com, at the end of the week. But there's going to be plenty in Nashville, around the surrounding areas, and some are opening back up across the country. So just, man, check it out. Like on there, you go to my tour schedule. It'll give you dates, places, venues of where I'll be. And yeah, there'll be plenty that's open to, wherever they're allowing me to play during this, this moment in time, I'll be playing, because I love it.
Well, Damien, you have been absolutely phenomenal today, man. I want to congratulate you on all the success, and it couldn't happen to a better person. It couldn't happen to, I know that the wedding is coming soon too. Yes. We want to congratulate you on that. You're just a phenomenal man that, honestly, like anytime I talk to you, I feel worse about myself, because you're such a great man. I want to get better. Seriously, every time I talk to you, I want to get better. I want to go practice. I want to go work on this. And mainly it's about the fact that I want to work on my heart, because I see your heart. I see your light. I see how the man that you are. I see the music that you play, and I see the message that you give, and all of them are right in line. And you're exactly where you need to be right now, man, because God has ordained you and has gifted you in such a phenomenal way, Damien.
Man, thank you so much, man. And that goes, brother, double portion for you. I mean, since the moment we met, dude, we were like brothers, man. And your heart and your energy it attracts it attracts what you're putting out. And if you're saying that about me, that's what it means about you, man. You have that heart and you have that passion for people, and it's beautiful. You don't see it as often as, I know I would like to see it in this world. So you're definitely a rare commodity, a rare gem, and I'm glad that we are friends and connected.
Thank you. Now's the time. If you're listening out there, click the links, check out the sponsors, do all the things that you need to do. And I tell you, check out DamienHorne.com, guys. And we want to tell you that we appreciate you listening to the show, riding with us, and on this amazing journey of being able to take iconic people like Damien and helping everyone to understand that it's about the attitude and the effort that they put in that makes all the difference in the world. Damien, you're officially off the hot seat.